So, how was it? Chapter 1 video. Was it easy or was it hard? If it was too easy, then just wait. It'll get better. If it was just right, awesome. Let's keep going. And if it was too hard, please leave some feedback and let me know the gaps you're having, and I'll help you try to get there. Because we're all on we're all on this journey, and some of us are going to be slower than others. It makes sense because imagine, you know, throwing a ball. If once you figure out, or maybe just driving a car. Once you figure out how to drive a car, technically you could drive a van, you could drive a truck, right? So the same thing with programming. If you have no knowledge of programming, then it's going to be harder. If you have a little bit of knowledge, then some of this stuff might click a little better. Piping is also used in PowerShell. The statements that we're using is used in SQL, database programming language. Some of it's kind of familiar. So again, if chapter 1 wasn't too bad, then let's keep adding to it, and hopefully we'll all be on the same page by the time we're done. Okay? So here is a question. I'm going to give you a scenario. Here's the scenario. So what I want you to do is I want you to first, again, you're going to want to go to aka.ms /LA demo. I want you to do this, guys. I don't want you to watch me. I want you to do this. Hold Shift, press Enter. Oh, event. Sorry. Security event, Shift, press Enter. I don't want you to press the run key. We're going to have these KQL commandments or things to live by or things to always do is always press Shift, Enter, pretend the run key was not there. Because I want you to be fast, and I want you to just do it and leverage the tools for you. So remember, Shift Enter, and here's the scenario. You see how long it took to run that command? Let's do it again. Shift Enter. Waiting, and you probably think that when your queries get more complicated, you're probably going to think this is a slow database, and it's not. I'll show you. When we run it again, we're going to have the results come in, and I'm going to show you something. It actually only took 671 milliseconds, right? But you're downloading 10,000 entries. We cut it off at 10,000 because if it's any more, you're going to think this is a horrible database. So why is it? Think about it. Why is it that it took so long? It's 671 milliseconds, but it took 3.8 milliseconds. Why do you think it took that long? Because we have to get 10,000 records. You actually literally have to download 10,000 records and then get the results. But you know what? You're not even getting that. You're only seeing page 1 of 200. So you're only seeing page 1 of 200, and you're only seeing 50 items. Do you need all that? So basically, imagine you say, "I would like to make you're purchasing something over the phone and some food over the phone, and you literally are purchasing 10,000 entries or 10,000 burgers, and you really only wanted to look at a few. So you're requesting for all this, but then you get the food and you throw everything else away. So don't do that. Always include a limit. Keep this as one of your core, rules you have in the back of your mind. The commandments we're talking about. Shift Enter, and you want a limit. Shift Enter, and you want a limit. And use your IntelliSense. Always limit, and look how fast it's coming. So it took 15 milliseconds to generate that, and it also took 0.7 seconds. Okay, does that make sense, guys? Always limit, and you're gonna see that everything's become faster. Now you may want all the records, but at this point you're trying to build your query, so you don't need all the records. Delete it later, or just comment it out. Right? Remember // is to comment out. So we'll just include the limit, right? Always just use it. Okay. So here's a scenario. We're going to go through a scenario. We're going to take the stuff we learned from chapter 1, day 1, and we're going to, build a scenario. Here's the scenario. Where is it? I think it was protection status. I was looking. Protection status. Oh yeah, protection status. Okay, here we go. Here's the scenario. You're gonna have to take what you learned, which was summarize, which was distinct, which was where, the filter. And here's a scenario. Let me think real quick. I just thought about it. All right, here's a scenario. So protection status is literally, if you look at protection status, you put your mouse over here, you're going to get this little helpful pop-up and learn more, but it's anti-malware installation info and security health status of the machine for your virtual machines. So when you have a virtual machine in Azure and you want to get the protection status and it's linked to Azure Security Center, that data feeds to Log Analytics and you can query the data set. Okay, so protection status in this scenario, I want you, protection status, let me whiteboard it. I want you to query protection status table. Oh, sorry. The right protection status table. I want you to query the table. Now, from protection status, I want to give me a list of machines, and I only want unique machines. I don't want a full list, right? If we look here, there are, if I remove the limit, we're going to get everything now. There are 563 records. If we increase this range to the last 7 days, there is 563 records. Okay, never mind. We have to put here 70. 3,965 records. That's a lot. I don't want all those logs. Remember, these machines, the protection status log is for every machine on some interval. So I just want unique machines. So I want you to give me the unique machines, right? I want you to give me unique machines, okay? And I want you to give me the most current log entry for that machine. So I want you to give me that time generated. I want the most current time, the last time it reported, basically. I also want you to give me the threat status. So I also want you to give me, I'm put a comma. I also want you to give me the threat status. So the most current threat status of that machine that was pulled. I want you to give me the protection status. And I want you to give me type of protection. Okay. All right. You get that? Now pause this video if you want to think about it. So pause this video and take some time and think about it. How would you accomplish this? Seems pretty complicated, but it really is not. Once I give you the right pieces to accomplish this. All right, so let's look at this again. We need to go to protection status, get the list of machines, get the most newest time generated with some columns from that field. And the columns need to be the column, actually within the row. So we want to pull out that row for those columns. And what I mean by that is, let's look at it again. If we have, let's say this is multiple rows. Let me get my pen. Where's my pen? Where's my pen? Oh, here we go. Okay. So let's say that there's a protections table. Protection status. And then we have rows, right? And they all have different date stamps. And the one we want is this one. So we want this, sorry for the star. We want this row, and we want column 1, column 2, column 3, column 4. Like, we want this row. We wanna pull this row out that matches the machine name and is the most newest record in that list. Plus, I want the respective columns from that row. I just don't want to grab a random column that matches. I want that column from that row. A way to achieve that could be, doing it. You may have thought about, taking your knowledge from the last chapter. You may have thought of doing something like distinct, right? And then doing it by a computer, right? And what that will give you is a list of computers, and then you might think about, oh, I got to add a column, time equals, and this would be basically the column you would calculate to get that newest time, right? But there's actually an easier way, and that is summarize, but not summarize by group or by count. You want to summarize by max. Now, let's look at the documentation of summarize. So let's go to language reference, or you want to click here, go to language reference, and let's type summarize operator overview. And then here is a list of all the functions you have within summarize. You see that? Now, if we need to get the newest record, well, it definitely would be time generated. So let's take an example. We're going to do where computer contains, and we're just going to copy this. And you see, we want the newest entry, so let's sort it. Sort by time generated. And is this the newest entry? Yeah, it looks like it's going up. Okay, so the newest entry is 7:25 p.m. Okay, now how do we get how do we grab that if we are going to be summarizing a whole group of machines? How you do that is, initially I would think max. Like, max would be the highest time, which is, would definitely be that. So if you do this and you sort by time generated and you do, let's see, we can do extend. Actually, I'm gonna do project, and I'm gonna put device name, and I'm also gonna put last time equals, and we're gonna do max of time generated. Maybe. Let's just do a summarize. So where computer contains, let's do summarize max time generated by device name. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, so that does give us the maximum time, right? The highest time. But the problem is when you want to pull the columns, they might not be the right columns you want to pull, because what do we have to complete the scenario? We need to get some other fields, the threat status, protection status, and type of problem. So we need the threat status, the type of protection, and the threat status, type of protection, and protection status. Protection status. So let's run that. You will get results, but you might run into problems when a field you pulled, it actually is protected or updated, but you didn't pull the the columns for that record. It was maybe a column that matches well, but it doesn't match with the record you pulled. I hope this makes sense. It's like in the example, let me show back in the whiteboard. It's like you grab this max time, but the C2, C3, and C4, those might be that stuff might be somewhere else. It might be another record. Does that make sense? It doesn't pull that record. You would think it would, but it doesn't. How do you fix that? Well, inside summarize, there is an ArgumentMax. ArgMax will find the row, and then also you can use it to return the other items in the field. So finds a row in a group and maximize, and then returns a value. And then right here, you do a star to return the entire row. So let me show you what that looks like. So max time generated definitely pulled the right time, but we want to do ArgumentMax. So let's do this. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to put it here, and I'm going to change this to ArgMax. By time generated, but I'm going to include star. Now, what does star do? Star pulls everything. It will basically pull the ArgumentMax time generated, but give me all the columns. Or you can specify the columns you want, like threat status, protection status, and type of protection. So in 2 lines, you basically have, in their logs, out of all the logs in there, you have a device, you have the last time you got a log that, time generated is generated when the log is inserted, entry, and then you have all these other columns. Again, let's break it down and just explain it, okay? So here we go. Let me put my clicking, click, 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 click. All right, so actually I'll need to do that. First, we want to take the table, we put it and we pipe it. Summarize is going to, this one is just going to summarize basically just groups. It just groups by, finds all the unique device names. So ArgumentMax is going to be the function that we're using. We could use count, and that would provide something else different, but we're going to use ArgMax. We're going to have time generated, threat status, protection status, type of protection by device name. Okay, so it will pull a particular row and all the respective columns that you put here. Okay, that would be time generated, threat status, protection status, or type of protection. Okay, you can also use like the asterisk, that asterisk whatever symbol, and then it will pull all the columns, right? And then this is the unique identifier to summarize by, is by device name. Does that make sense? This is a very helpful query, and you're going to be using it because there are times when you want to know, hey, something is not reporting in. So let's look into that. Let's take it a step further. Okay. So now that we know this, let's summarize that list. Let's summarize. Remember, we're piping and now we're taking that results and now we're going to summarize those results. So let's look at type of protection. Count by type of protection. So we have a lot of machines on Windows Defender, and we have one machine that with no anti-malware tool was detected, right? So let's take that, and now let's use this to filter and find that item. So how would you filter? Where? Okay. And by the way, you can use filter, but it doesn't have IntelliSense. See, it doesn't have IntelliSense. So I would use where because, just go with the flow. Don't use the alias. Where type of protection is equals that. Okay. And now we have a device name. This could be an alert. This literally could be an alert. You take this query, you put it into an alert, okay? That alert, you can have it trigger an automation flow to go to that machine and push a update. Push a PowerShell script to go update the endpoint automatically from this query. And if it fails, then another alert probably comes in, or you can in that automation you can have it send you an email saying failed, right? So a lot of things you can do that you don't actually have to do as an admin. You can kind of set the automation in place triggered from this alert, right? Let's also look at what devices maybe haven't been reporting in lately. So how do we do that? Well, do we have the time calculation? No. You're going to need to reference a time. How do you reference a current time? Well, let's go back into Lagrange reference. Let's go type time, and let's go find it, right? And now we're going to go look for time. I want the current time, so if you look here, it's now. Now. You can also put now with a time span, right? To localize it if your time is actually not in UTC or whatever the format is. But you can use now, okay? So let's do that. We have this result, okay? Now we want to filter it. Not filter, we want to extend. We want to add another column. Extend is adding another column. So you put extend, and here, right here, see? Create calculated column, okay? And let's name this column time difference. And we put equals, we'll put a parentheses, and we're going to calculate something within those parentheses. Again, it's now, which is the current time. We want to subtract the time generated. And what do you think will happen when we run it? We have time differences, right? Now, we also want to sort it by the time difference. So we want to sort by time difference, not generated, difference. And what that's going to do, it's going to bring all the ones that haven't reported in the last 24 hours up to the top of the list. If you do it by 7 days and you run it, it's by the last. So some devices haven't reported at all in the last 6-7 days, right? 60N, see if it's different. Yeah, see, it's different devices, right? Does that make sense? Okay, so extending, right? Extending this word right here, extending. We then specify the name of the column, right? And that name of the column is going to go over here. And then this is going to calculate each row, right? Each row is going to calculate for its respective time generated. And that's going to go here. Time generated is this part. right? It's going to be, let me try it again. It's going to be right there. And let's see. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So you can now calculate within those rows by extending, by using extend and calculating something in that field. Okay. All right. Yeah, if you have any questions around this, if this is kind of hard, just feel free to comment. Let me know. But that is pretty much all I have in regards to day 2. All right, guys. So thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and lets me know that there's interest around this. And hopefully this wasn't too challenging, because we're gonna add to it on the next day or the next chapter. Thank you.